Good afternoon, investigators. Mike Evans and Casey Pine with this week's riveting episode 168 of Spy Curious. How are you, Casey?
I am fantastic, Mike. Thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What are you going to tell us about today, Casey?
Well, I have an OSINT tip and a reporting tip this week.
Fantastic. I am going to answer question of the week. Will claimants, g'day Chris, how you going, mate? Good to hear from you. Will claimants always be aware that private investigator has been assigned their case? Think about that one. You might want to put your answer in the chat. So that's during factual investigations. I'm also going to be looking at some jobs. A person that has to pay back WorkSafe in New South Wales, $170,000 and $34,000 in court costs. I'm sure. G'day, Renee. How you going, Executive Vice President? Good to hear from you. And the really big news, I can't see it because Casey was being an idiot before and she made me drop my computer and glasses. And now I'm like Andy Chambers. I can't see anything. People, I can't see, help. But the big news, people, is Andy Chambers, his book is out this week. So you can now get it. Casey, what's your stuff doing in mine? There's Andy. So, problem solved. True stories from a blind private eye. The Kindle version is even available today. So it's out now. You can get it in your hand and read all about the adventures of Andy. So $29.99. You can see the details there. If this goes too fast for you people, watch the replay tomorrow and you'll be able to get your hands on Andy's book just in time for a nice relaxing summertime read at the beach or at the pool or wherever you go. So great news this week that that's out, isn't it, Casey?
It is fantastic. I can't wait to get my copy. I pre-ordered it, so it should be on its way.
Won't be far away. Very excited. Andy rang me on Wednesday and also to tell me that the Kindle version is there as well. So that's really great news coming out of the investigation industry this week. Yeah, you can read the book while you fly fishing. I could watch TV while I'm fly fishing. It wouldn't make any difference. I still wouldn't catch any. And also this week, we're going to be looking at our introductory day for self-defence for compliance enforcement officers in the field. And that goes to private investigators and corporate investigators as well. So we've got a really, really busy day. But just before we get going, let's have a look at that news. Here we go. Workers' compensation down in New South Wales. CSIRO, the regulator down there for this sort of thing, has nailed Luis Manuel Farina Alves, who spent 2001 to 2017 on workers' compensation benefits while he was working as a bus driver. So he couldn't work in his trade that he got injured in, and he claimed workers' compensation benefits. So he's got 10 months home detention. They haven't sent him to jail, and he's got himself a very large $204,000 debt that he's got to pay back to WorkCover New South Wales. And I tell you what, the debt collectors will be ringing him every week and making sure they get that money because the government doesn't like giving away free money to people who rip off the system. So he's got 10 months home detention. That's pretty serious. He's got to pay back $204,000, $170,000 worth of benefits he was not entitled to, and $34,000 in court costs. Oh, wow. So he's got himself in all sorts of strife, and that's a fraud matter for New South Wales. They're quite rare because they really do nip these in the bud earlier on before they get to this. So he got away with it for quite a long time. But finally, he was caught up with, and that's the outcome. So that's what's happened in New South Wales. They're right on to that sort of thing. Great jobs this week. MJM are looking for investigators all around the country to do desktop investigations. So great opportunity for licensed private investigators. Get in touch with MJM. They're looking for you. Sports Integrity are looking for an investigator in basketball. So to be in their basketball integrity unit. So makes the mind boggle. What can they do? Cheat in basketball, that sort of thing. Auto and General are after an investigations manager, the largest general insurance investigation place in the world, Auto and General. So What a great opportunity to work in Brisbane. Head for the sunshine, people, with your licence. Apply for that job. They'd love to hear from you if you are experienced in general insurance, so home and contents, stolen motor vehicles, home arsons, home burglaries, home liability like pet bites, slips, trips and falls in the house that people are insured for with general insurance. So that is a really great opportunity at Auto and General in Brisbane. Rarely do they come up, those ones. Compliance officer for insurance brands is wanted down in Melbourne. You won't have to have a licence for that. That's an in-house position. Claims investigations in Sydney are after a factual investigator. And the Victorian Institute of Teaching down in Melbourne are after an investigator down there. I can tell you some stories, but I won't. You have nightmares. But that's a great opportunity to be an investigator with Victorian teaching down in Victoria. And here's something I haven't heard of for years is the DSS. I thought they closed that down and it became Centrelink. But they're after an assistant director of fraud control. You're going to need a diploma of fraud control for that position. All of those positions and a whole lot more people are available on our Australian private, corporate and government investigator website. Facebook page, if you just type that in and go and have a look at it. If you can't remember it, watch the replay of this program and you can stop it at that point, type that in and see those jobs and a whole lot more. There's MJM's jobs in Adelaide, in Perth and around Australia, and Brookside. They're looking for factual investigators in general insurance all around Australia. So there's some great opportunities out there, people, for investigators in Australia. Get on that Facebook page, have a look at them and see what people are looking for. Very busy day. It's hard to do without glasses on. We're going to have a look, just before we come back to Casey, at our introduction to self-defence for investigators. Now, look, next week we're going to go into all the sort of stuff you've got to do, but today it's just a preparation for what you have to think about before you go out into the field. Now, people who work in factories think about moving machinery. They think about slippery floors. They think about things falling from heights onto them. They think about forklifts coming past. That's what they do in their world. They have workplace health and safety issues to consider before they start work every day. We, as investigators, g'day Eddie, how you going over there, mate, from the opposite side of the world? Good to hear from you. We as investigators have to think, well, we're going out into the field. What are we doing? Where are we going? That sort of thing. So we consider our safety as well. It could be as simple as a skateboard on the footpath walking into the claimant's house. It could be as ridiculous as 2 guard dogs in the place. Well, you've got a mobile phone. So let's have a look at our presentation just about the considerations before next week we come into the exercises we'll all be doing together to keep you safe in the field.
Hi, my name is Alex Evans. I am a licensed private investigator from Australia. I have extensive experience in the fields of private investigator, security, document service, and debt collection. I am also a lifelong martial artist with experience in self-defense situations during the course of my career. My intention with this short video series is to give an overview of staying safe during call-outs like the ones mentioned. I will be including considerations for prior, during, and after real-life self-defense situations. It's important to note that no short course or video series can make up for appropriate training and experience in the field. This video series is merely a set of ideas that may assist you in doing your job as safely as possible. These videos are not just about physical violence at the time that it happens, but also about prevention as well as getting home safely. Consideration number 1, prior. Prior planning is important for any job and it is included in this self-defense video series. Questions you may ask yourself before leaving out to a job may include: who are you dealing with? Where are you going? What is it about? Do you need support? And do I need to raise concerns? Number 1, who are you dealing with? A simple, open source online search can paint a picture of the type of person you may be dealing with. Searches may include Google, social media, or resources such as courtdata.com. Be wary of red flags such as criminal history or obvious signs of a quick temper. Number 2, where are you going? Consider before you go what type of environment you may be heading towards. Some neighborhoods are more dangerous than others. Some communities are tight-knit and have the possibility of being either unhelpful or even hostile towards you. Also consider the layout of the area you're visiting, as getting in and out may be confusing or full of difficult terrain. It is important to consider where you may be parking your vehicle. Keep in mind that it may be necessary for a quick exit. Number 3, what's it about? Keep in mind that some callouts can be more dangerous than others just based on the nature of what they're about. A simple document service can be vastly different in this regard than to that of a compliance matter. Bear in mind your own use of language, including body language, and approach the situation with professionalism and empathy to avoid escalating any unnecessary negative feelings, particularly on sensitive matters. Number 4, do you need support? Do not hesitate to use support where required. This can include support from colleagues, police, translators, and other such people. Police escorts can and are often used in sensitive matters. Number 5, raising concerns. If you have concerns regarding any of these considerations, particularly with regards to your personal safety, they should be raised with your supervisor, team, or even the police if necessary. These concerns may arise during the planning of a job, during the job, or even after the job. Always make a note of concerns and raise them with appropriate people. That concludes video 1 of this video series. To recap, considerations. Number 1, who are you dealing with? Number 2, where are you going? Number 3, what is it about? Number 4, do you need support? And number 5, raising concerns.
Okay, so we've got our foundation to consider. The time of day you're going to take the statement from the person you have to sit in front of and take the statement. They might not be available until after work at 7 p.m. at night. So a consideration is who you're going to tell. Hey, g'day, George. Great to hear from you, mate. We hope you are back at work and feeling 100%. I'm sure you are. We've had a couple of ads for the building authority in your absence, mate. I'm sorry you missed that. So all these considerations come into it. To be honest, people, I have taken statements from people in relation to stolen motor vehicles or accidents in probably some of the worst suburbs that you could name in Australia, and I've never heard a swear word. I've taken statements from people in the most upmarket suburbs in Australia, and every second word was an abusive swear word. So sometimes it's not what you think that it's going to be like. Is it dangerous? Is it scary? No, it's not. If you are prepared and you listen to the person when you make the appointment. So most of your meetings, g'day, Tony. Great to see you, mate. Hope things are well in Adelaide, in South Australia, beautiful part of the country. So it's really a matter of, like Alex said, it's minding your language and your words and what you're going there for. 95% of our people are going there to take statements. And if those people give a statement, they're going to get a benefit at the end of it. That's usually what it is. So it's not dangerous. Some people are going out to deliver documents to people that's really bad news that they might consider is going to ruin their lives. Their house is being repossessed or their car's being repossessed, that sort of. They know it's coming. This is just the finalisation of it. How you conduct yourself when you do that, you follow your training and follow your guidance. All right. So thinking about it before you do it. They do it in factories. When I was in the fire brigade, we were always rushing to fires, but we took a minute before we went. We thought about smoke. One fire equals 5 days in bed with smoke inhalation. That's how it goes. It's like you've smoked 500 packets of cigarettes if it's at night. You can't see the smoke, you don't know it's there. We thought about where the power lines might be because they were all overhead power lines and they will come down in a fire that's connected to the house. So every other occupation does it. They think about it before they do it. So do government investigators, corporate investigators, and private investigators. George does it down at the building authority. He goes out and gives bad news to big, ugly builders. And George doesn't mind doing that because he's very careful about his words. He's a qualified tradesperson. He speaks their language. He knows how to behave on site, and he knows how to get people to comply, like we discussed last week. So that's how it goes. We've had the introductory part. From next week on, we're going to practice our exercises to protect ourselves. So that's where we're headed. Casey, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, I have an OSINT tip to start with. So I used this recently. I got a tip that someone that I was looking into was at a restaurant, and I haven't been able to use this tip before because I don't really do surveillance much anymore. All of my work has just been desktop and open source intelligence, but I got to use this and I found it very, very helpful. So I thought I would share it here. And that it's an Instagram tip, similar to a Snapchat tip that I've done before, but with a lot of people with a lot of places that you're looking at, Snapchat isn't as popular anymore in Australia. People still use it. It is still handy. But in like really dense cities and things like that, Instagram, this is really, what am I talking about? So in Instagram, if, for example, you are looking for someone that might be in Burleigh, you've got, say you're sitting outside a restaurant and you're on surveillance and you don't know if that person's left or not. You're in Burleigh and you can go to Instagram, go to the search function, type in Burleigh and then click on places. Then that will bring up a map of everybody in that area, which is just very helpful. So this is people adding public information to their stories. So for example, you might be sitting outside Rickshaws, which is a popular restaurant in Burleigh Heads, and you don't just have to type in an area, you can type in a specific place. But I find that it's helpful to type in both and zoom in on the map because some people might tag themselves at Rickshaws, some people might tag themselves at Burleigh. So it's always good to do both. So say you click on Rickshaws and it will bring up public stories. So you've got information here. And I know that it's not necessarily the person that you're looking for, but people often pan around the room with their phones. They pick up their phone, they pan around the room, and you can see whether your person of interest is there or not. So it's not just photos, it's often videos as well. So this is I just took this just before this screen recording. So that person had showed that pan around the room, and you can pause it and see if your person of interest is still in that restaurant, and you can see who they're with, which is also really handy. And oh yes, so I just find that really handy. I was at home the other day. I got a tip that the person that I was looking into was in Brisbane at a fancy restaurant. I went to the Instagram map. Lo and behold, there was a number of different people whose stories were public and had done a pan around the room. And I got the screenshot of who that person was, who they were with, and I got to know who those known close associates of this person was. So I knew to go to their social media and look more into those people because they had recently been with this person of interest. You're welcome. I know that I use Snapchat a lot for this as well, but I just find that Instagram is just gathering momentum. And this feature was rolled out I believe it was only in July for Instagram. And this is the first time I had to use it, and it worked like a charm. So I thought I would put that out there so people can use that. And also, I got to review a report the other day from another investigator who was doing a lot of screenshots and things off the internet. They just wanted some feedback on what they were doing. And they hadn't have covered up the children's faces in the photos. And then I said that to them. I'm like, you need to cover up the faces in the photos of children. And I do it for the agencies that I work for. I do it for the private companies that I work for. I do it for private individual clients. They don't need to see the faces of the children in the photograph. So I'm always really diligent with covering them up. I know it's open source. They can click the link that I provide and go and see it. But in reports, if it ends up in a court of law, they don't need to have these children's faces splattered everywhere. And most agencies have that as a policy anyway. So the app I use for that, if you can see, I know it's quite small here. I've just taken a screenshot of, because that Burley picture that the screenshot I took had a baby in there, and I've just pixelated their face there. And if you can see, it's actually a screenshot within this app, and it's called Sketch. And down the left-hand side, you've got all different tools. You've got cropping tools. You can put words in there. You can mark it up and also pixelate. So it's really handy, and it's free. So it's really handy just to use that tool to quickly remove any faces of any minors that might be in the photograph that you don't want in there. So I thought that that was a really handy reporting tip as well. So there you go. We have our OSINT tip and a reporting tip.
Can't do better than that. That's 2 for 1. Thanks, Casey. That was really good. And we had a Facebook user there that learnt something.
Yeah.
I know who that Facebook user was. Okay, we're coming to our question. I got asked this question. I thought, what a great question. This is absolutely brilliant. Will claimants always be aware that a private investigator has been assigned to? If they want compensation, yeah, they will be. Now, how does that happen? So a person puts in a claim for a motor vehicle accident, workers' compensation injury, home and contents accident at home, and the claim goes through to the computer at the insurance company, and the insurance company has a look at it and go, all right, that's someone's camera, it's $150. They've been a client of ours for 30 years, never made a claim. They send you a check for $150. That's really basically what happens, right? Well, what should happen? Okay. Now, if the start to get up in value, so you're getting something up over $400, $300, $400, they'll assign it to a desktop investigator, and the investigator will contact the person making the claim. And they'll say, by email or written correspondence, if they've got the person's email address, life's a lot easier and a lot faster in a digital world today. And they'll say to them, look, can I make an appointment with you? Here's some times I've got. We have a chat over the phone about your claim. We've got 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30 next Wednesday. And the person will come back and say, oh, I've got to go to the doctor's next Wednesday. Can we do Tuesday? And the claims manager will write back and say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and they'll organise it. And they'll sit down and have a chat about what happened and get the circumstances, and they might be able to deal with it on the spot. So that's small claims in insurance companies. Now, when you get into our world of bigger car accidents and stuff like that, it says on your product disclosure statement for your motor vehicle insurance that if you have an accident, you must cooperate with the investigation from the insurance company. That's all of us. It doesn't matter who we are. If we're the insured owner of the vehicle, we have to cooperate with them. So what happens, that person puts in a claim, then the insurance company contacts them and says, we're sending out Casey Pine to come and speak to you and get a statement in relation to that matter because 2 people were injured and whatever, and they've sent this claim in, so we'd like to get your version of the events. We will indemnify you in this matter. Thank you for your cooperation. Now, you have to cooperate. That's how it goes. But you've been told. Now, each insurance type, general insurance under the General Insurance Act, workers' compensation insurance under the Workers' Compensation Act, Transport Accident Commission or MAIB under their acts, they will say that the insurance company must let the claimant know that an investigator is coming to speak to them. You've got to have warning. It's just a common courtesy. That's what it is. So you let them know, and that way you keep them on side. Go back to what Alex said before. Think about what you're doing. Think about your language and how that goes. You want the people on side. Now, this is the difficulty for general insurance investigators. Someone's had their very expensive car stolen. They've gone on the phone. They've filled out all the questions, yes, no, yes, and there's 150 questions. They've gone through all that. It's taken an hour, all the circumstances of it, to the insurance company on the phone. And then 2 days has passed and they haven't heard a thing. In those 2 days, the insurance company's got in contact with Casey and said, can you go out and speak to these people and have your report back to us in 14 days? This is how things move. It's a very expensive claim. It's an $80,000 car that's stolen unrecovered. Now, when Casey rings up to the person to make an appointment with them, hi, I'm Casey Pine, assessor for stolen motor vehicles, the person on the other end of the phone goes off their nut. It's been 2 days. I haven't heard a damn thing. I've been with this insurance company for 40 years. I pay $600 a month, blah, 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 and they just let go. Now, Casey's been around. She's heard all this before. She just holds the phone out here, let them get it off their chest, and she says, okay, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And that's how it goes. Casey goes around at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, knocks on the door after getting this big triad yesterday. And the person goes, oh, Casey, come on in. Would you like a seat? Would you like a cup of tea? And they're the nicest people in the world. They've just vented their anger with the delay from the insurance company the day before. They understand now it's moving, and this is how it goes. So it's like a script. And you'll find this is what happens when you do it as well. Now, you know what the really unusual thing? We teach people from Germany. We teach people from Canada. We teach people from Asia, South Koreans. There's a whole range of Malaysians, whole range of people we've had in our classes or that come to take our classes. They want to know how we do it in Australia. But they say to me, it's exactly the same where they come from. People have that behaviour, and then the next day they're fine. So it's really interesting to hear that. It's globally universal. So in all fairness, a person making a claim is told that the investigator is coming to get a statement off them in relation to the matter. And that's in writing, in email, or over the phone. They're forewarned as part of the process. So I thought that was just a brilliant question. I hope I've answered it. So they've got once it's allocated to the investigation agency, they've got 14 days to get that report back to the insurance company so they can then make a decision. But the claimant is always kept informed. And if you read the General Insurance Act, to those of you that are studying at the Australian Security Academy, and you have to do that as your second assessment, you'll see all that in writing and how they actually go about it. So great question. I thought that was a really good one. Now, people, AIRLAP. What's happened? I've made some massive changes to our industry association, the Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals. We got it really hammering again this time last year, 12 months ago, with the election of our Executive Vice President, Renee, who is watching. and we went for a format of meetings once a month. Now, what I didn't know, and I told you last week, it would be a runaway success. That thing there has taken off. It's gone crazy. We've had 20 people a week join it for the last 12 weeks and happily join it, knowing that it doesn't cost anything. So they're an Australian Security Academy student. It's automatic. They're not going to get lumped with thousands of emails saying come to meetings. All our meetings are on Friday afternoons between 2 and 2:30 p.m. Queensland time. And if we have a special meeting for something that's really important to our members, yes, I'll go to a closed meeting and I'll advertise that beforehand and let everyone know. But with the runaway success of it has been really difficult with my time. So it's been successful, that's great. We've been getting good support from speakers and employers, that's great. We've been getting people to participate in our CPD program, which is absolutely fantastic. I didn't know people would, and they really do. They've just got crazy for it. So what you've been doing, going to Podia and doing that, it's been a year of experiment for me to not know whether people would do that or not, but they did. So we're going to take some weeks 5 minutes with AIRLAP, other weeks it might be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, other weeks it might be 35 seconds, and I'll say, look, nothing happened in the Industry Association this month. But that's the plan, and that's what we're going to do moving forward. Now, I will recreate the CPD points program next year, and I'll start explaining, as Renee did this time last year, our levels of membership, so you can see that. So we have members, they don't have to participate in anything. We have associates, we have honorary members, we have affiliates, we have all sorts of membership levels. I'll explain that later on, and your CPD points that you do will take you up the ladder of those levels at no extra cost. So what other industry associations charge you extra for, we're providing for free, and we'll still have the relevant information for members. So that's what's happening with AIRLAP. I hope I've made that quite easy to understand. Great job vacancy, this one, people. I've been hammering on about it for the last couple of weeks. Please apply for it. Vendor management want to pay you $85,000 a year in your first year to sit at home in your home office and do desktop investigations. Now, that's a whole lot of money. How would you like that job, Casey?
That's what I do.
Work from home. You don't have to go anywhere. Nothing's dangerous. I mean, you can get a really nasty paper cut putting paper in the printer, I suppose. It's the most dangerous thing that can happen at home. But look, I advertised this job this week. So this organisation was looking for a young, switched-on licensed investigator to do mystery shopper. Now, instantly, I got 12 people applying for it. Now, mystery shopper, I don't think really you're going to be starting at 9:30 in the morning and going through to 5:30 every afternoon, although I do know a situation where they did that recently, but they didn't have to buy anything. They just visited them and covertly filmed. That's a mystery shopper one, which is half surveillance, half factual. You've got to write a report about it. All right, so people went crazy about it. And then they went psycho because the client asked for a young person. Now, if you look at the two people on your screen at the moment, who are you going to get to do surveillance at the old people's home? Who are you going to get to do surveillance at the ladies' Melbourne Cup Day? I don't know which way I'm pointing. Right? So effectively, a client has the right to ask.
Yeah, it has to be situational, 100%. So you can't send me into, tarot cash and say, Casey, you go and try on a bunch of suits and you do mystery shopping that way. You're not going to send Mike into Supre. So it is situational, and you have to play the part that you're in. So it's just one of those things. It's not being ageist, it's not being sexist, it's being situational and exactly common sense. So thank you.
Common sense, it really is, people. So Yeah, look, I know it upsets people if they say, look, we want a young one, or if they say they want a fat one, well, I can apply for that, but I'm not upset about it. I can still apply for it, right? But look, the client wants it, but that job, you might get, I don't know, $40,000 a year doing it, and you're going to run around the suburbs and dodge the traffic and balance picking the kids up and all that sort of thing. You can go and work for vendor management, right? Sitting on your desktop at home, and vendor management want to pay you. I've got it here somewhere. It's coming. They want to pay you $85,000 a year, and there's the lady's email address to contact. So get in touch with Ash. She wants to talk to you. Right? You don't have to go and park. You don't have to risk speeding tickets. You sit at home on your desktop and do your work from there. Yeah, you might have to interact with some people and do some contacts, as I explained before, but it's less work, more money, and a great opportunity. And you can be young, you can be old, you can be in between, doesn't matter. So that's what's happening. Yeah, it is common sense. It really is. You use your surveillance people or your investigators appropriately. In Victoria, for WorkSafe, the claimant can specify, I want a female investigator to come and interview me. I want a male investigator to come and interview. They can do that. So it's well thought out. So equally, you as a person in the industry, you can think about it too. You can do the work for vendor management. Now, that opportunity is available in New South Wales. And like I told you 2 weeks ago, if you're licensed in Queensland and you live there, get a New South Wales license through mutual recognition, you can do vendor management's work from Queensland because you're licensed in New South Wales. It just makes sense. But we have a state-based licensing system. That's the way it goes. If you need to contact me about anything you've seen there, there's my contacts. And if I'm going too fast for you, you can replay this tomorrow on our YouTube channel, which looks something like, looks like I've taken it down, have I, Casey? No, there it is. There's our YouTube channel. So if you type in Michael Evans, Private Investigator on YouTube, our YouTube channel will come up. And like 156,000 other people, you can go there and have a look at the replay or what else might be happening in relation to what we're doing at the Australian Security Academy. So that was a pretty big program today. I didn't get through all the jobs. I'll just quickly. Brookside are after a manager down at Brookside for general insurance. Been talking about general insurance a lot today. Great opportunity at Brookside. Allianz are looking for an investigations coordinator. I had hoped today to bring you an arson matter from up in Rockhampton, but it was dismissed in court because the jury couldn't come to a decision. So it's going to go back to court at an unspecified date. They could not decide on the basis of the investigations interviews with the insured, with the next door neighbours, and with the police being involved. They could not decide whether the person actually lit his own house on fire or not. He wasn't there at the time. He was at a shop. There was some paint thinners and paint involved. So there's all sorts of things happening there, but it got thrown out. So we'll wait for it to come back on and then I'll talk to you about it. For people interested in that sort of thing who are studying at the Australian Security Academy, watch our time and event line presentation. It tells you how to go about that. So that's just something that's...
One of my favourite presentations is that time and event line.
It's a great one, the time and event line. I must add too that we are going to start very soon a Friday training program, which will precede Spy Curious each week. And so anyone who's a member of AIRLAP will have access to that, be invited to that, where we will cover things like our time and event line, give evidence in court, all that sort of thing. That's just a part of what we're doing. So keep your eye out for that. You will be invited to it. And some of it, when I tell you by the email for AIRLAP members, will count for our CPD points too. But that's a more 2023 thing. It's on the way, but there's lots of initiatives. There's so much going on. I'm really struggling to keep up with it, but it's a lot of fun. People, that's our program today. Did I miss anything, Casey?
I don't believe so. I think we've done pretty well.
I think we've done pretty well. Don't forget the big news. Get your copy. You will not be disappointed, right? He reckons on the back page he said something about me, and I've engaged my defamation lawyers in relation to it. Haven't seen it yet, but they're being engaged and put on full alert. Okay. I don't care what he said. I agree with him. He's a great guy, Andy. And that's where you can buy Andy's book from, Problem Solved, The Stories of a Blind Private Investigator. So $29.99, great read. You won't be disappointed. Casey will be doing a book review of it next week.
Oh, sure. Well, hopefully it comes in time.
You get it next Thursday night, and on Friday afternoon she'll do a review of that book, which is really kind of Casey. We're going out in our usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's how every investigation agency in Australia, including the Building Authority in Victoria, end their week with everybody saying, mission complete, all units return to home. Thanks for watching, people. Thanks for your participation. Thank you for your emails of support and comments about AIRLAP throughout the last 2 weeks. It's been really encouraging, and thank you for taking part in that CPD program and helping us to set it up and move towards getting it working for people in a vibrant industry that's really great fun to work in on your desktop from home. Casey.
Have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week with more tips.
See you then, people. Thanks.